But hey, just real quick this morning, I just want to talk about how Jesus brings us hope. You know, I know that you've been talking about how he came to bring us peace, love, hope, and joy. But today I just want to speak about hope for just a few minutes. And I just have 3 quick things I want to say. But Jesus came to bring us hope. And in the Bible we see that Jesus came to bring this world hope. Hope for healing, hope for deliverance, hope for miracles, hopes to see our lost family members saved. And hope, if you look it up in the dictionary, is defined as this. Hope is a feeling of expectation or a feeling of trust. Right. And if we think about our hope in Jesus, that's what we feel. Amen. It's a hope of expectation that God is going to do something. Yeah. It's a hope of trust, an feeling of trust. And actually, Brother Ray read this. Where's Brother Ray? Oh, Brother Ray read this morning in Isaiah chapter 9. But when Isaiah was writing, you know, he wrote these prophecies about Jesus 400 years before Jesus was born. And, you know, that's kind of incredible. You know, if I were to tell you today, hey, you're going to have chicken for lunch today, and you actually do, well, then I'd be like, Austin, hey, good job. Okay, that's kind of cool if I could tell you what you're going to eat for lunch. But imagine someone prophesying about someone's birth 400 years in advance. That man has to be from God. Well, Isaiah prophesied about the Messiah, about Jesus. And I'll just read a few verses for you. In Isaiah chapter 9, 2 through 3, we see this. It says, "The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. Of those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you, as people rejoice at the harvest." And then jumping to verses 6 through 7. "For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace." You know, I won't take too much time in this, but just those names alone of Jesus are incredible. A wonderful counselor, not an okay counselor, yes, but a wonderful counselor. Imagine if you went to someone, like a counseling service, if you had a problem and they say, hey, before you even get started, you know, you sit down in the room and they say, before you even get started, I want to let you know I know everything. But I also know everything about your future. And I know how it's going to work out. You'd be like, man, this is a wonderful counselor. Well, can I tell you, Jesus is that counselor. Jesus is that counselor for every single one of us. He's a mighty God, an everlasting Father, and a Prince of Peace. You know, as people were reading the Old Testament or reading Isaiah, this hope was building for the Messiah. This hope was building for that Jesus was going to be born. People were waiting. And this morning, I just want to talk about how Jesus brings us hope in our past, and in our present, and in our future. You might be asking, why? How does Jesus bring us hope in our past? You know, even over the past, our failures are not greater than God's power to transform our lives. Amen. And God gives us hope that sometimes we see our past or we see someone else's past and we say, well, God, you're going to have to do a lot of work to redeem that. But can I tell you that God gives us hope? Yeah. Jesus has come to this world to give us hope over our past, for us and for our families. I believe that too many people get trapped in the enemy telling them that they can't have hope because of their past. Amen. And I think that traps a lot of people from coming into church today, because the enemy is speaking to them saying, you know, you can't do this because of what you've done. But that's not true. Jesus came into this world to give us hope. You know, I'm here to remind all of us this morning that Jesus came to this world to give us hope over our past. Maybe it's that he's reminding you and I that every prayer in the past that you prayed is not worthless. Jesus is reminding us that, hey, have hope. That those prayers that you prayed for miracles, for healings, for family members, they're going to come to pass. Amen. Now hope for the present. God gives us hope for the present, that we are loved and that we have purpose in life.
Yes, amen.
We should never come to a point in our lives that we feel like, you know what, I've done enough. You know, I think I've done enough in my life, I'm good. No, God has a plan for you. Amen. God has something new for you this afternoon, tomorrow, the next day, next year, 2018.
Hallelujah.
And God has given us this blessed hope through Jesus so that we may find joy and fulfillment in our present and our daily lives. I'll tell you a really quick story that when I was 8 years old, my mom had cancer for the first time. And my mom's had cancer 3 times. And the first time that my mom got cancer, I was 8 years old, my little brother was 5, and then my little sister, she wasn't born yet. And she went in, we were going to apply to be missionaries, and she went into the doctor, and she just had to do this long checklist of things to do, and one of them was a mammogram. And so she, was 28 years old and was like, I don't know why they're telling me to get a mammogram, but I'll do it. So she went to check it off, and long story short, the doctors called her back in. And they said, Ms. Henderson, just want to tell you, you're in stage 3 of breast cancer. And she was thinking, there's no way. There's no way. You need to do another biopsy. You need to check. Well, they did, and come to find out it still was stage 3. Well, this was on a Friday afternoon, and they scheduled her surgery for a double mastectomy on a Monday. And this left a very short window that my mom and my dad and me and my little brother were just really scared, to be honest. But in that weekend, we went to church on a Sunday morning, and my mom just dropped to her knees and during worship and just began to pray and just say, God, I have hope. I have hope that you're going to heal me. And even though it seemed impossible, it really did, and maybe some of you have faced similar circumstances, we had hope that God was going to heal my mom. And in other times that she's had cancer, God hasn't healed her miraculously. But can I give you testimony that in the first time that she had cancer, God completely wiped it away? Nothing at all.
Hallelujah.
She went to MD Anderson, which is one of the cancer hospitals out in Houston. They went there. They did actually a TV show over her because they could not believe that her cancer was gone. But we had hope in those moments. Yes. And Jesus comes to give us hope in our present, that when we're facing something that is too hard for ourselves, that Jesus gives us hope. The second time she had cancer, she walked through chemotherapy. And she walked through radiation. And can I tell you, that was even more of a testimony. To say, hey, God healed me miraculously, but God also healed me through doctors and through medicine. But we have hope. We should never, again, come to the point where we feel like we've done enough or that hope is gone. Because hope is never gone. Jesus is our hope. And then finally, hope for the future. Jesus has come to this world that we would be redeemed. And that Jesus has given us hope that he's coming back one day for us. Do we believe that?
Oh, yes.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
We believe that Jesus is coming back for us one day. God has given us hope for the future that we could see again miracles, see people saved. Can I encourage you today that no matter where you are in life, or how young or how old you are, that there's still hope for your future because of Jesus. Because Jesus is giving you hope for your future. When we as believers speak of hope, we don't speak of it as a desire that might be fulfilled. No, our hope is certain. Yes. Jesus came, he died, and he rose again to give us hope. Paul describes Jesus as our hope in 1 Timothy 1:1. In Titus 2:13, Paul describes Jesus as our blessed hope. Jesus not only came to bring us hope, but he is our hope. Yeah. Jesus is our hope, and our hope is alive. Our hope is not dead as Buddhists and Hindus and as Muslims. Our hope is alive. Our hope is risen.
Yes.
We have hope because Jesus forgave us. This world lacks hope, to be honest. People around the world are clamoring and trying to fill their empty lives with stuff, something that would give them hope. Whether that's abuse or addictions or illnesses or broken relationships or anything. But Jesus has come to bring us hope. He's come to fill our lives with a hope that's everlasting, that's enduring. And people need to know that Jesus came to bring us hope. And that's why every single one of us in this room, not only Tsehaynesh and I, are missionaries. Every single one of you are missionaries exactly where God has placed you. Whether that's working in your job, whether it's in school, whether it's you're retired, wherever you are, you have an opportunity every day to share about Jesus with somebody. Whether that person believes in Jesus or not. In just a few minutes, we want to pray. And we want to pray for the people who are lost in this community and in your families. We feel like we do a great injustice if Tsehaynesh and I left Takema and never prayed for Takema. We want to pray for your people and your families. People, maybe they're across the world, but people who don't know Jesus that live right here. And then also we want to pray about Austria.
So right now we're just gonna, if you want to, you can stand or be seated, stay seated. And we want to just worship with you. I know it was like the lights were all down and we were gonna say like, hey, like sometimes the best times to worship God is in our darkness, But even in the light we can still worship him. Yes. So we're gonna worship "O Come" in the song "O Come Let Us Adore Him." And there are a couple verses, but as we repeat it, just worship with us.
thinking that they have everything that they have family, they have money and cars, God, but we know, Father God, that does not bring us satisfaction, God. I ask you to fill the gap that is within our hearts, that's within our families' hearts, Father God, that may not know you, Jesus. God, I ask you to completely and radically change their hearts just the way that you did ours, Father God. I ask you on behalf of our friends, Lord God, that we have maybe known for years, Lord, and that we just ask, Father God, that they would open their minds, open their ears, Father God, that you would give us an opportunity, Father God, to come to them, Father, and to say, hey, let me invite you to church this Sunday morning. I know you haven't gone in a long time, Father God, but I ask you, Jesus, that you would give us open opportunities, open windows, open doors, Father God, that it may be awkward at times or hard at times, Father, but you would give us that courage. God, I ask you to infuse us with your boldness, Father God, the boldness that you give to your believers, Jesus. And now we want to pray for the city of Tsehaynesh, God. We ask you, Father God, for every single business here, Father God, that would radiate with your love, Father God, that when people are driving through the city, Father, that they would know and that they would feel, Father, there's something different about this town because of you, Jesus, because of your Holy Spirit living within us here, Father God. I ask you, Lord, that we would be able to display your love, Father God, that we would be able to display acceptance, Father God, of people that don't know you yet, Father God, but we have this hope that one day they will come to know you, Jesus. And God, we just take this moment, Father God, to pray for the nation of Austria, God. We ask you right now, Father, for those people, just like we pray for our own brothers and sisters and our cousins and our aunts and uncles, God, we pray on behalf of these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, God, that don't know you, God. They're away from their families, Father God, going to school and want an opportunity, Father God, to be able to share the gospel with them. The gospel that completely changes our lives every single day, God. I ask you, God, give us open doors, Father God. We cannot do this alone. In fact, we don't want to do this alone, Jesus. And we thank you for the family that we have at this church, Father God. Your body of believers that are continually praying for us, believing in us, and supporting us, God. I thank you for how biblical that is, Father God, that we are living right, Father God, hopefully in your sight, God. And if there's anything in us, Father, that you do not like or that you want to change, God, we give you full permission to completely change us, God. We know that you are not mad at us, God. We know that you do not want to do anything bad or wrong to us, God, because you are a good God. God, help ingrain that in our minds, God, that you are a good Father. In fact, you tell us in your word, you can call me Abba, you can call me Dad. So God, we ask you, Father, that our relationship with you, Father God, may be stronger than ever, God. And I thank you for the opportunity of praying for these lost souls to come to know you, Jesus. Because what a wonderful day that would be, Jesus, when we get to heaven and